feel like we're like very far over.
We are.
I wonder if...
I think I'm in a good spot though, because of this.
I don't know if you can hear us. And hello to all my South Shore neighbors. You are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. My name is Melissa Wallace, and I am joined in studio with my team member, Mary Baker. Hello.
Hello, everybody,
Hello.
and happy late 4th of July.
Happy late 4th of July. Yeah. Now it's the 5th.
Now it's the 5th of July, but you know what? It's been a whole celebration, whole couple days of celebrating.
Yeah. We had some time off, and we got to celebrate.
We
and,
sure did.
Have a couple cocktails and take a dip in the pool. And
My dog will have anxiety for the rest of his life after all the fireworks.
Poor Dexter. I'm sure there are listeners out there who sympathize with you and have dogs, even cats that are
if you
hiding.
have any ideas besides drugging them with trazodone or Benadryl,
Yeah.
because both were tried.
Yeah, he was sad. He was a sad boy.
Yeah,
But we got through it.
we did.
Yeah, we got through it.
I didn't see any fireworks this year though. I know there was a lot going on locally, a lot of different events or town events, but I did not see any.
Yeah, I know Julia. We've talked about Julia. She is one of our, she's the administrative coordinator here. She created this nice little Canva thing for all of the Connect pages with all the fireworks that are happening, the parades that were happening over the weekend, the 3rd and the 4th. But no, I didn't see any in person either.
Yeah.
I could hear them like from a distance, like people in their homes setting them
It
off.
started early. It started on Thursday, in my opinion.
Yeah. And even yesterday, we were like, what are you doing? Like, it's still like light out. The sun didn't go to sleep until like 9 o'clock last night.
I know.
But yeah, no, it was good. We had a good weekend.
We sure did.
But
and the weather was beautiful. It was absolutely gorgeous. Could not have asked for anything better.
It was perfect. Not like today. Thank goodness that today isn't the
doom
4th.
and gloom.
It's a little gloomy outside, but hopefully we'll brighten up your day or your night here.
Yeah, we're going to talk about
with our
good things today.
So Sharon is not with us tonight.
She's probably listening in though.
She's probably listening. We are live on Facebook, so in a moment I'm going to hand it over to Mary so I can get us on all the Connect pages, and you can watch us live on Facebook. You can call into the studio 781-837-4900. George is waiting for your call on the edge of his seat. He might even be standing
as we are.
You sure are, to take your call. But yes, so Sharon is not joining us this week, but I believe it's this Saturday she's going to be on McNamara on Money for 2 hours,
awesome.
And then doing the show after. So you can listen to Sharon for 3 hours on Saturday.
She's going to have a lot to say.
Talk about real estate and all that
different financial impacts. That will be an interesting show, actually.
Yeah, it will be interesting. And then I think they're going to carry it on probably into
Talk Real Estate.
Into Talk Real Estate. I think
that'll
so.
be good.
Either that or I just made it up. So
now that's what they're doing.
Tune in on Saturday to figure out if that's what they're going to be talking about. But tonight we are going to be talking about home inspections. Might be a little crazy thinking that, all these buyers are waiving their home inspections, but Mary, who is the buyer specialist on our team, really the specialist of everything, is going to be sort of telling everybody that no, not everybody is waiving home inspections. And we're going to put a little twist on it. We're going to be talking mostly about summertime because it is summer.
Mm-hmm.
Like
what to be looking for.
Like we said, it is after the 4th of July.
That means does that mean we're halfway through? No, it was just first day of summer was June 21st, 23rd, something like that.
I don't know, but I thought you were going to say, does that mean we're halfway through the year? And I was like, well, yes.
I was going to say halfway through the summer. I'm not ready for it.
No, it's not halfway through July.
Halfway through the summer is what I was thinking.
I don't know. I don't know that, but it is the summertime now. So in case we replay this show, it is sometime after the 4th of July, even though I've already told everybody that it's the 5th. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about home inspections specifically in the summertime. We'll talk about them generally, and Mary will talk about, how verbiage with offers and all that fun stuff. But then we're going to be sort of focusing more more on the summertime. And obviously, we always encourage buyers to do home inspections, but it might be a little bit different in the summer. So, Mary, why don't you take it away for a moment while I get us all situated on Facebook?
Nice. And if you have any questions and you guys want to call in and talk about home inspections or just different things that you should be looking for, you can reach George at the studio. The number is 781-837-4900, or you can always send us messages over on Facebook because we will be live on all of our pages soon. So one of the reasons that I think home inspections are such a good topic to cover is because I think there's a lot of misinformation about them, or maybe not even necessarily misinformation, but a lot of buyers, I hear them talk about, are you going to pass or fail a home inspection? Or can I even have a home inspection? Or what types of home inspections can I have? Or what types of inspections can I have? So there's a lot of different nuances to kind of cover within that. And then, we can delve into or jump into pre-offer home inspections, and maybe you're bringing a contractor through before you're writing your offer, and how to make your contingencies within the offer as strong as possible. Do you have a home inspection through new construction? Or there's just all different fun little tidbits. And honestly, I think I might retire and become a home inspector. So there is that. It's like a game of investigation.
Is it really retiring if you leave your job and then go to another job?
I really like home inspection. Well, yeah, but I really like home inspections. I really do. I think there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot, that you can uncover, and it's kind of fun in my opinion. I used to be really nervous about them. I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to go into this, and then this home inspector is going to rip the house apart, and the buyers are going to get scared. And what are they going to find? And now I'm like, ooh, what did you find?
Ooh, what did you find?
I've learned that there's no problem so big that you can't solve it. And that's what I like to say about just overlying or generalizing about home inspections is it's a tolerance item. It's not a pass or fail. It's what are you willing to tolerate within the property itself.
I would say be able to fix, or you've sort of given yourself the opportunity to be able to walk away if it is too big.
Yes.
So
no problem you can't tackle.
Yeah, if you have a savvy agent who has sort of protected your money,
your interest,
you can walk away. But
certainly. I think maybe that's a good portion to start with here. I don't know if you have an order in which you want to tackle all of this.
You can start with whatever you want. You have done far more home inspections than I have. I pretty much only do home inspections if somebody else can't do it. So,
but they're interesting when you go to them, right?
They are interesting, and I do learn a lot when I do them. Like I said, they're sort of few and far between for me, but you are at them all the time. Mm-hmm. But it's not just to scare people away. I've said this multiple times on the show. It's not to just scare people and to find everything that's wrong. It's also to educate you, especially first-time home buyers, or maybe, they're the first generation of home buyers in their family and they've never had to take care of these things.
It's so funny that you just said that.
Why?
Well, because it's very true. There are certain things that you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. And especially if you weren't, like, I was raised in an apartment and there were just the home ownership items, taking care of your taking care of your foundation or taking care of your siding, replacing windows. I knew all of that stuff happened. Like I had an idea before we purchased our house, or even before I got into real estate, that, somebody was responsible for it, but I never, just the tiniest little things I never learned about. And actually, you could ask me today, where is the water shut off for our house? I have no idea. Mark McNamara might know.
I hope Sam knows.
Yeah, but it's but little things like that.
I bet Holly knows.
I'm sure she does. It's little things like that you want to be well educated on your house so that you can take care of it. And I think that's why we advocate for buyers performing these home inspections. And it's not really we don't look at it as a renegotiation tactic anymore. It could potentially be, depending on what comes up. But in all reality, it's about educating yourself and learning about the property. And I think that's a good starting point. They are happening again. Mm-hmm. So can I have a home inspection? Absolutely. Like your offer, we are in a position now, and we've been talking about it for the past couple of weeks, where buyers have an opportunity to really they're not in the driver's seat by any means, but navigate the offer process a little bit.
So, where did you sort of see the trend of buyers waiving their home inspection? When did that start? And then when did the trend of sort of, no, let's reintroduce this contingency? We have been talking about contingencies for what I feel like the past 8 weeks, but we just all different kinds of contingencies.
Well, there's so much that goes into
There is. So that's why tonight, we're talking about home inspections because they are happening again. So when did you see them sort of go to the wayside? When did you see them be introduced again to offers?
It was always scattered. So sporadically, we would see offers coming through, with buyers waiving their home inspections. And I would say early on in my career, so I've been with Sharon and Boston Connect and our team for 11 years now. Early on, it was unheard of. A buyer would not approach me about waiving a home inspection, but as a listing agent, we would see it come through pretty infrequently, maybe, 2 a year. And then I would say about 2 years ago, well, actually, I'll rewind, about 5 or 6 years ago, I was selling a lot up in the city. And in the city, it was incredibly commonplace. So buyers were always waiving their home inspections and or doing pre-offer or pre-offer home inspections.
Like bringing an inspector or somebody in the trades to their showing or to the open house.
Yes.
They would sort of already get the lay of the land and sort of be comfortable waiving that.
Yeah, and even when we talk about that, I think that was a huge risk on the buyer's part because essentially you're paying a third-party person to come through and inspect the property, and it's not a full. To my knowledge, anyway, I've never actually done one. It's not a full-blown inspection. So your typical inspections, there's a bunch of different ones that you can do, but more often than not, they're going to be about 2 to 3 hours, depending on the property that you're inspecting. The pre-offer home inspections, I don't believe are as thorough. They're kind of just looking for those big red flag items so that you can feel confident when you're writing up your offer, waiving that there's not going to be any huge material defects and therefore your offer is stronger without that contingency. But you still have the potential to not get that property. So you could be wasting, $500
She
or
did
whatever.
quotes, so if you're not watching us on
Wasting.
Facebook.
Well, I don't think of it as a waste, right? But you could be setting yourself up to lose $500 because again, you're paying a third-party person to really go over this without go over the house without any guarantee that you're going to win the offer.
Yeah.
But I think back in the day, so 5-6 years ago, if you were in a position to do that, to do a pre-offer home inspection, you were setting yourself up to be one of the top contenders. And then I would say about 2 years ago is when I started noticing that I would say 25 to even more than that, maybe 35% of our offers were coming through without home inspections. Both from a listing perspective and even our buyers, we're always going to advocate that you do one, but we were noticing that we were getting beat out by offers that were waiving their inspections.
Well, something that I've noticed through whether it was yours or Sharon's offers coming in on your listings, or if it was one of our other agents, is a lot of people were waiving their home inspection, and then once it got accepted, they said, "Oh, well, maybe I just want it for informational purposes only," or maybe it's if it's just the big ticket items. If the big ticket items come back, then we might have a little bit of an issue. But it's like, no, you either waive it or you don't. And I think that the people were getting upset about, okay, so why did you just waste everybody's time? Like, you should have just said, no, I want to have a home inspection. And maybe your offer wouldn't have gotten accepted. Or, no, I don't want to do a home inspection. End of story, end of sentence, period. But now I feel like people are like, okay, maybe we should reintroduce the whole offer, like the whole home inspection back into the offer, because there's no trickery anymore.
Yeah,
everything just needs to be straightforward.
We did notice that there was a lot of, when you start talking about waiving home inspections or waiving any contingency in general, it's coming from a place of desperation more than it is competition, right? So buyers are so desperate to get their offers accepted that they're kind of throwing caution to the wind. Maybe there's a buyer or two in there that are just incredibly savvy. They could have potentially owned a few properties before and or be in some type of trade that they, go through these properties and really understand what they're looking at. Mm-hmm. But more often than not, we were seeing it happening because buyers were desperate to get these properties, which desperation leads to remorse, right?
Right.
So the buyer's remorse was coming because they waived the inspection, and then they get in there and they're like, "Whoa, X, Y, and Z is happening. Mm-hmm. I can't believe I didn't know this. I can't believe the seller didn't tell me. I can't believe, I have to, the roof is a lot older than I anticipated."
Well, so I know I might be jumping a little bit, but when you do a home inspection, you do get a report at the end.
Yes.
So, and I bring this up because last week I did a final walkthrough for one of our agents, Kristen Howlett. She's a full-time real estate agent here at Boston Connect Real Estate. She's been on our show multiple times.
She's not even a guest anymore.
I know.
She's like
I was just going to say
co-host.
she's like a co-host at this point. And I hope she's watching. But I did a final walkthrough for her. She was away. And I went through the house with her clients, and we noticed an odor. And I said it smelled sort of not moldy, but like you could tell that it was water. Mm-hmm. And it was right where we were either in the kitchen or in the room off the kitchen. And so I went over and I opened the dishwasher, and the smell was not great. So they were like, "I bet this has never been run." And I said, "Well, did your home inspector run the dishwasher?" And they were like, "Oh, I don't remember." And I was like, "Well, I think typically they start the dishwasher as soon as the home inspection starts, as soon as they come into the house. So by the time the inspection is over, the dishwasher is done and they can see if there's any leaks and everything." And they said, and I asked them, "Do you have your report?" And they're like, "Yes, we do." Yeah. And so they looked in the report and they did run the dishwasher. And I said, "I bet no one has opened that dishwasher since that, because nobody was living there."
Gotcha.
So they ran the dishwasher. All the water was still in there.
Just pooled and it had been sitting there.
Had been sitting there for weeks. So that was the smell. So I'm like an investigator too. Like you can be the home inspector. I want to investigate things.
Yeah, you want to know what's causing the issues or where it's coming from.
But the good thing is that even like I would say bring your home inspection report to your final walkthrough, because
it's actually not a bad.
If something like you don't remember something, or you don't know if they did that, or did you check this, or was this like this before, you can look at your report and be like, "Oh yeah, this was like that. Like I saw this. This was, this isn't supposed to be like this. This is supposed to be fixed."
A lot of home inspectors now too also take photos. So they're taking photos of the mechanicals so that you can have a reference point for when you inspected it, was this mechanical piece working?
Yeah.
What did it look like? Was it running? Did it need repair? And potentially you could have negotiated with the seller to get something done, and certainly you and your agent will navigate that, and just kind of looking over, what needed to be repaired and did they have licensed professionals come in and all of that. But I agree. I think I always say my advice to buyers is, so we're kind of jumping ahead, but always be there with your home inspector, right? So it's very, very important that you put that time aside and you're actually physically with your home inspector as they're walking through this house and you're listening to what they're saying. Because just like anybody, what they say to you in person, delivery is everything. What they say to you in person is going to potentially be a lot different than what they write down in their report.
Yeah. It's like text tone.
Yeah. Like you don't know. So I always say, if a home inspector is looking at a heating system and he's saying, "All right, well, it looks like it's about 20 years old. It looks like the seller has been maintaining it. They have it serviced yearly, but I do see some corrosion over here. And maybe you want to have like this looked at, but it actually looks good for the age of the system and kind of normal is to be expected." Mm-hmm. But then when you get the report, he's going to write needs repair. Yeah. Original needs or 20 years old needs repair. So the delivery of what they're saying is potentially a lot different than what they're writing. Mm-hmm. So that's where I think a lot of sellers get nervous that, home inspectors are going to come through and kill deals, or, are they antique houses, for example. We see a lot of powder post beetle damage in antique house, termite damage, or wood boring insect damage.
Yeah.
That's very common based off of the age of the house. So inspector might come through and say, hey, very common based off the age of the house, nothing is active. But then they write that there's pre-existing damage.
Yeah.
So you gotta, there's a give and a take. What is normal to be expected and what is out of the norm? And you really want to focus on what's out of the norm.
And we've said before, everybody who's going to have an opinion or some sort of stake in this purchase should be
there.
present.
Yeah.
But let's get to the
Summer.
specifics of summer, okay?
Okay.
We could go on and on and on about this, but we want to talk about specifically home inspections in the summertime. So, Mary, this was your idea. Why did you think of this for today?
Well, so I actually I prefer to do home inspections in the winter because you're seeing the house under the worst conditions that you will possibly see. When you're looking at it in the summer, you're probably under the best conditions that you're ever going to see the property. So everything is lush and green, and there's not the ground isn't typically very wet. So from a leaking standpoint, for the foundation, it's a little bit more difficult to see. So I thought it would be interesting just to chat about what to be looking for, or the benefits, I guess, of your summer home inspections.
Yeah. Well, you just said water, so I just thought of drainage. So with drainage in the summertime, you'll be able to see, is there pooling of water somewhere, either in the direct perimeter of the home, or even throughout the yard, because they might be covered by leaves in the fall or snow in the winter. But you'll be able to sort of see that, and that's something that you wouldn't be able to see in another season.
There's a pro and a con to everything, right? So you think, if I'm inspecting a property in the winter and there's 5 feet of snow on the ground or 4 feet of snow on the ground, fresh powder, can't really see the foundation all that well, right? Can't potentially see the footings for the decks, can't see all of that. So in the summer, it's to your benefit because you get to see the house under the best condition that it would probably ever be and really fully inspect it. But also, you might not know if under the worst conditions, it's going to hold up.
Right. But even not being able to see things, how many times have you heard, oh, the snow melted and we realized there's so much trash and things debris left behind that was covered by snow, and they sort of got away with it because now it's been 4 months.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, it was the middle of the winter. I wasn't going out there.
I didn't remember that I left my big tractor trailer.
No, that actually did happen once.
That did happen once.
Our rule of thumb there is if it is not attached in any way, shape, or form, or your buyers have not asked for it, it is going.
Yeah.
If it is on your property and it's not attached, it's got to go. It's got to get out of there, get the dumpster, get it out of there quicker.
Yeah.
So maybe just from a home inspection, not a home inspection, but a selling standpoint in the winter, if you're considering selling in the winter, start thinking or preparing for it a lot earlier than you would necessarily have to do in the summer.
Yeah.
The summer's kind of like wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, right? You can kind of get on real quick and get it under agreement and get to closing. In the winter, you have a lot more hindrances, right? The weather isn't really on our side here in New England.
Yeah, but the weather could also not be on your side in the summertime, and I put a couple of those things
in the trip me up.
Yeah, I think. Oh, you didn't even think of these things. I didn't even think of these things until earlier today. But we'll talk about this part, and then we'll go into the specifics of a home inspection in the summer. But things that you have to consider is the heat. So when
I love where you're going with that.
Purchasing a home that does not have air conditioning, your home is a lot hotter than when it is in the summertime. So, if you are inspecting the roof, a crawl space, the attic, those are, very hot areas that can be potentially dangerous for people if they're in there for a long time. I usually feel like I'm cooking from the inside out, no matter, even just sitting in a chair, let alone in a crawl space or in an attic. But it's super important because, you got to stay hydrated. I know these are silly things, but you really do. If I would want to know if I was a home inspector, I would want to know if I'm about to inspect a home that does not have central air or some sort of cooling system.
If it's uncomfortable.
If it's uncomfortable. Also, you have to, when you're outside, there are factors of bees or insects, ticks, anything. I know these are funny things to you, but these are things that go through my head. I'm allergic to bees, so I don't want to be outside for longer than I have to be.
I feel like inspectors at this point are probably used to the bugs. Like I know a
Well,
couple.
they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be stinging anybody, okay?
Yeah, Sam just got stung by a bee the other day, but he survived.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you're right. It will. So even from testing the heating system standpoint, so let's take it like one step further into the mechanicals of the house. If your house doesn't have central AC, and it's 90 degrees outside, we're really gonna have a hard time getting that heating system to kind of kick on and be able to test it. And same thing can be said in the winter. We've talked about this before. You know, in the winter we can't test AC units.
Yeah.
So if you have central air, the inspectors aren't able to turn the AC on, so you don't really know what the functionality of it is. You're relying your information solely based off of, or you're relying upon the information given to you by the seller. And the same would be said for a house that, for our house specifically.
I'm just saying that it could be dangerous, okay?
They're going to
could
have a
be
heat
pests.
stroke.
Yeah, there could be pests. We have chipmunks underneath the porch.
Well, we sure do.
Okay, and then they're in the summertime, not the wintertime. So here we are with the chipmunks.
But they're cute to look at.
Yeah, but at something else that I saw, like I read earlier, was like mold, fungus, pests. Like those are things that could be living in these areas that you're now going to that are super hot, confined areas. And it could be dangerous, but it's important to inspect.
Yeah, because you want to know. Well, you want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And humidity, we know. So not necessarily. I wasn't going to say your better time to find mold or mildew would be in the summer. I think anytime if it exists, if you have a moisture problem, you're going to find it regardless of the timing of year.
Yeah.
You just might find a different type of mold.
I would say try to do your home inspection in the morning before it gets way too hot.
In the
If it
summer?
doesn't have some sort of cooling system.
Well,
But
one benefit to inspecting in the summer too is your pools. So we're seeing, and this is just something that we're seeing more and more of because we're seeing buyers want pools more, or people having put pools in through COVID, and it's I don't know, they're more desirable now. People keep saying like, pools don't add value, but right now I would question that and say they add value to the person who wants a pool for sure. In the winter, forget it. You're not inspecting the pool whatsoever because you're not getting that cover off.
But if you can't inspect it, there are ways to find out information. So what would you do if it was in the winter time and you were helping somebody purchase a home that has a pool? What sort of verbiage would you use?
I guess it depends. It depends on my offer situation here, Melissa. If you're up against
nobody, this is the perfect situation. This is the perfect situation for your buyer. They can find out anything.
We're going to get it asking. Yeah. We're not going to go crazy over.
Yeah.
We're going to write the most perfect offer for our buyers. I would be requesting ages and maintenance records from whoever is maintaining the pool for whoever the seller is. So requesting, ages on the filter, ages on the liner, and then any pool maintenance records that they would have. So Sam and I use, and I know Sharon and Mark do as well, Sunshine Pool here in Pembroke. So if I were to go sell my house, I could get all of those records of everything that they've done to my pool over the past, I think, 2-3 years, and be able to provide that to the buyer and say, hey, listen, when we closed it up, this is what we did. We replaced X, Y, and Z when we opened it up last year. This is who maintains it. They open it for us. They close it for us.
I just think that if you are going to advertise that your house comes with a pool, you should be willing to give that information out.
Oh, surely.
Because why would, if you're going to say, oh, I have a pool, it's so great, but I'm not going to give you any information about it. Don't ask me for any information. Then don't advertise that you have a pool.
No, we actually, horror story time. And this is why it's important too. There's a benefit to every market. When I say market, there's a benefit to every time of year when you're selling. So I remember, it must have been several years ago at this point, we had lovely buyers who were looking at an antique property in Norwell, and actually they had an antique inspector come through and inspect everything. And they had a pool. Mm-hmm. So the sellers had a pool, and my buyers wanted to open the pool up so that they could inspect, but it was winter. Mm-hmm. We found out through so we weren't able to open the pool cover, but the representation from the seller was that it was a gunite pool, which is a cement pool. It's not a lined pool. They tend to be a little bit more durable, and they're less maintenance. Mm-hmm. So before we opened it up, we were told that it was a gunite pool. We opened it up, clear as day. The liner was ripped off of the quote unquote gunite pool.
Mm-hmm.
So that seller never anticipated that we were going to ask a pool company to come out and lift that cover.
Mm-hmm.
Had we not done that, and we wouldn't have been able to do it if snow was on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
It was winter, but it was maybe February, March, like towards the end of winter, so we were able to do that. Had we not done that, our buyers would have then been solely relying this information upon the seller giving us that information, and they would have been in a world of hurt come opening the pool the next year.
Yeah.
Because that would have been a new liner. Granted, we can get into how can sellers lie about that stuff.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other topic.
Okay, so in the summertime, you can inspect a pool. What are other sort of obvious things that are more beneficial to inspect during the summertime than in the winter?
In general, your foundation, I had said it earlier, your foundations, your footings for decking, things that you wouldn't be able to see when you're snow covered. All insects, like you were saying, are dormant in the winter. Almost all of them are dormant. So in the summertime, you tend to see if you're going to have any, carpenter ant problems or any insect problem in general.
Yeah.
You wouldn't realize that you had that issue in the winter. So
I would
it's
say
easier to see.
I would say not even just the footings of these things. It's the actual decks, patios, walkways. Like you can see them.
True.
If you see them, you can inspect it. There are areas of a home or even anyway, I'm just thinking like when I come here or when I'm at home, there are areas in the wintertime that you avoid because like they could be problematic for walking.
Yeah.
So it's like you're not going in that direction, but that means that you're neglecting that area. So there could be something that's happening there that you don't know until the summertime. In the summer, you can visibly see everything. So
Well, it's one to be said for roofing too. So if you have a layer of snow on the roof, a lot harder. You can't really see what the condition of it is when you make your offer, right? But in the summer, at least, you can fully see what's going on with the roof. Right?
yeah, yeah,
That's an important one to me.
yeah. With the pool, if it comes with a cabana or like a pool shed or anything.
Yeah,
you
and
can
most
inspect that.
inspectors actually wouldn't inspect exterior units or accessory units, not necessarily even if it would, I'm not thinking like a two-family, but they typically don't do sheds. You have to let them know if it's a detached garage or potentially a cabana, and they might charge a little bit more for it. But if it's a space that
I would think
gonna
that
be
you would
used-
want to inspect it, especially if they're saying that there's electricity out there, there's running water out there, there's heat or air conditioning or anything. Like I would want to know that those things are working because, like we said about the pool, things can be told that aren't true. So I would want to know that they are.
I 1000% agree. Sometimes it's by omission. But
Yeah.
it's also nice in the summer is you get to see the landscape of the property. That has, especially nowadays, I do feel that buyers are spending a little bit more or people in general spending a little bit more time at home. We're still in our kind of post-COVID days where they really want that nice backyard, nice outdoor space where they can spend time with friends, family, whomever, and really be able to enjoy themselves. So I think just being able to see what your landscape necessarily looks like is, great.
Yeah.
In
I
my
think so.
opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. What were we talking about? Landscape.
Yeah, landscape.
I was thinking about roofs still. So, but with the landscaping, like you're, like I said, you're able to see everything, and even like driveways, you'll be able to, like everything is clear. There's nothing, or there shouldn't be anything that is sort of hiding anything that should be or is wrong.
Yeah.
But what else was I going to say? So like pests, I was going to go back to pests. You can see like the damage too. So you said carpenter ants. Yeah, like all these things, like you can see the wood rot and the damage because it's not covered by snow. It's not covered. Like even I'm just thinking of like if you have windows to your basement and stuff, you'll be able to see like around them instead of like, okay, so they didn't clear the snow away from the window or they didn't do any of that. So like you can't see if there's any damage there.
Yeah. So even in this winter, or even in the winter, if you're seeing any type of wood boring, activity or damage, you could potentially still see that on the interior, but the pests themselves won't actually be there. So you don't know if it's something that's currently going on or something that has already passed.
Well, you might be able to see how they're even entering, too.
Oh, 100%.
It might be easier to see how they're getting in or getting out.
In general.
In general.
How are they getting to us?
How are they getting to us? But yeah, I feel like it's easier to see that in the summertime. Easier to see damage, whether it's wood rot around windows and doors or anything like that. And isn't it like if you like touch it too, like if it's like soft?
Yeah.
They have
so wood rot is very, very easy to spot, and I think it's easier to spot in the summer, only because notoriously what a seller is going to want to do is that, if they aren't able to replace it, they're going to want to at least paint it or put some putty where that wood rot existed. In the winter, it's
putty.
Yeah, so there's wood filler that you can try and use. A lot of people try and use putty or caulking or something like that, and then they paint over it. But I think I have a really trained eye at this one right now, and I'm like, no,
I didn't even know that. That sounds ridiculous to me.
That's soft. That's soft, and then they just paint it over.
That's a soft window.
Yeah. So, and that's one thing in the winter that you will see, or it will be harder to see because it's harder to get to those places than it would be in the summer.
Yeah. Well, did we talk about air conditioning?
Yes.
Oh, we did.
We did talk about air conditioning. You can't.
I know we talked about not having air conditioning. I just don't know if we actually went back to the whole, yes, it has air conditioning and how wonderful that would be to be in a house with air conditioning doing a home inspection.
I think you're, what is that?
Losing it?
No, you're Freudian right now.
I think I'm just losing it.
You're like, I really, if I say AC if I say AC a couple more times, then maybe eventually we'll put AC in my house, or I'll envision that it's just cool.
I have a unit in my room. It's fine.
Do you?
Yeah, you see it.
I don't go in your room. No, but it is. So even, the doorbell.
10 minutes.
But one thing that I actually loved that you have on here is an environmental. So in the summer, in the winter, we tend to have higher levels of radon.
Yeah.
Because gases are less likely to be able to escape when the ground is super, super saturated, whether it's with water or even snow. So we can see it it's trapped essentially. Like if the ground is frozen, the gases are trapped within the soil and they have nowhere to go, but the places that are most easily vented, which potentially could be the interior of a house. So we do tend to see higher radon levels in the summer. I mean, in the winter, I'm sorry. In the summer, you have I shouldn't say radon gases have the ability to escape a little bit easier. So
the levels would be lower in the summertime. Interesting.
Yep.
So are radon inspections included in a normal home inspection?
They are not. So there's a couple of different inspections that you can do as a buyer. You have your general home inspection, which is just going over the structure and the mechanicals of the house. You have a radon inspection, which is your environmental. Radon is a naturally emitted gas that's coming from the ground. It's all around us, but it can be dangerous when it's trapped without ventilation. And then you have your pest inspection. So you have and some inspectors, not all inspectors, are certified to go around and look for any really wood-boring pests that are going to damage the sills of your house or the structure, the framing of the house. And then you could do a lead paint test. So lead paint was technically outlawed or stopped being used in 1978, but any house built prior to 1978, the assumption is if it hasn't been tested for, that it hasn't previously been tested for, that it could exist on the property. And then
every time somebody talks about lead paint, I think about this Law and Order SVU episode where this kid has lead paint poisoning because he chews on his old cars, like old toy cars, because they used to put lead paint on children's toys from like the 70s, and somehow in the year 2000 whatever, probably like 2004 when this episode came out, this factory was still making lead paint toys. painting with lead paint because it was cheaper.
It was cheaper, and I think
They got sued because this kid got lead paint poisoning. I
as
think
they
he
should.
like killed people.
It's dangerous, but it does exist. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind, even when it's been painted over. So technically, like the idea is that you're encapsulating the lead paint. There still is a possibility if it's in a door jamb or a windowsill. If you're constantly moving and kind of grinding the paint up, you're creating a powder and a dust.
Yeah.
So that's the theory behind why you can test, or if you should be testing. And we actually recently had a buyer who performed a lead paint test and found out that it was in a couple of different areas on the exterior and on the front door. And it was for their information. They just wanted to know and understand where it was, even knowing that the unit had been converted or renovated in 2006. So even if something's fully renovated, something from its prior build could still exist. And they just used that for their information and said, okay, well, now I know. And now
it was just in the exterior.
The front door was the interior as well, but then the rest of it was just the exterior.
Interesting. So does that mean the front door hasn't been painted since
So probably
1978?
100%.
Before that?
It's probably been painted,
but it had so many layers on it, and so it was underneath.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And sometimes you can tell if you have an eye for it. I walked into it, and I walked into the unit immediately, and I said, this door was not replaced in 2006. 100%. This is not a new
20 layers of paint on it.
This is not a new door. So let's think that maybe if the unit was built in 1920, we could potentially be looking at something we could be looking at something that has some lead paint there. And then it's up to you what you want to do with that information later on.
Yeah. So but these inspections are not specific to summer. So obviously you can have any of these inspections done at any point in the year. Mary, as a buyer's agent, you do suggest that your buyers
always
get home inspections.
Always. I think it's just good for knowledge more so than anything. You don't necessarily have to do. It doesn't have to be a make or break. It's not pass or fail. It is, no home inspection fails. It's just, as wonderful Steve Cook, who was with Imperial Inspection Services, he actually came and inspected a 2-family that we bought. And he said, everything's reasonable if you get it for the right price.
Yeah.
So what is the price in comparison to the amount of work that you actually have to do to the house? And are you happy with that price, knowing what you have to do to it?
It's interesting that you just said that because, like I said earlier, I did a final walkthrough and we did have this whole list of things that we were like, okay, well, they left this, this is broken, we want this, remove everything. And then after being there for probably at least 45 minutes at this point, they sort of retracted a little bit and they were like, well, I don't want to seem like I'm nitpicking. Like, okay, so that would take us 5 seconds to take it down. They have to drive an hour to get here because they've already moved out to take that out. Like, maybe, we can take down this. Maybe we can get rid of this. Okay, they left a flag up. We'll take the flag down. Like, we'll do that. Like,
it's about
these are not. It's the more there were like 3 like big ticket things that like needed to be removed, but like. It was, little string lights outside that like they didn't like they weren't attached to anything. They were just sort of left like it's like, okay, we don't need to. We got this at a really great situation. So maybe we should
always
like
say it's about your tolerance.
It's okay. Level. Like we'll take it. Like so we dwindled it down a little bit. But yeah, it's funny that you said that because you might think in the moment like, oh seriously, why'd you? And then you're like, okay, you know what? It's really not that big of a deal. We have a dumpster anyways. Like just throw the lights in there.
Perspective
just
adds
throw
a
the
lot.
Curtain in there. Like. Throw the area rug. Like, are we really going to tell somebody to come back but it's the broken bird bath. It's the broken this. It's the broken that's left behind that like needs to go. So yeah, that's that. But yeah, you can have a home inspection, a pest inspection. You can do any type of inspection. This was specific, things that we think that might be a little bit easier to see and inspect during the summertime. But you can do any of these. You can do any of these. Any
point. Except for the pool inspection.
I do want to give you a minute to sort of go over anything that any listings, any buyers you want to talk about. Any listings?
Any buyers?
I don't know. In search of? We never say that. We never talk about any like,
Oh,
hey,
if you have this home, maybe
if
we
you
have
have
a
this,
buyer that's looking for
yeah.
X, Y, and Z. That would be a good one. That'd be kind
Yeah.
of fun to do.
Yeah. But we do have a couple listings that
Yep.
you might want to talk about.
So we have actually 2 units up in the Pope's Hill area of Dorchester, which is, Sharon and I are OFD, but it's 44 Boutwell, and it's been completely remodeled. So we have 2 units there, both being 3 bedrooms. We have the first floor unit is listed for $725. The second floor unit, which actually consists of 2 floors, is $775, and they both come with covered parking, which is very rare in the city, which is amazing. So those are beautiful. We'll be doing open houses there this weekend. And then we've been talking about it for a really long time, and I'm really excited. I actually checked in on it today, but we have a development. It's Cochise Estates in West Bridgewater, where we finally have our model home pretty much ready to go. They're just putting the final touches on it today. It is a 3-bedroom with an office, 2,400 square feet. It is gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's listed for $899, and I am very hopeful that we will be able to do open houses there. If not this weekend, maybe next weekend. So I'm excited, and we'll do a whole new marketing plan for that so people can see the interior.
Maybe I'm just thinking out loud here, and all you guys can listen to this, but maybe we can, you and I can find time this week before the weekend to go there and do some sort of sneak peek and marketing things.
I would love that.
Follow us on social media. I hear our music, so follow us, McNamara Broker Team, Boston Connect Real Estate. You can go to bostonconnect.com, find all of our contact information. You can go to talkrealestateroundtable.com, listen to any of our past shows. Thank you so much, Mary. I don't know why I'm saying thank you, but thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being my friend. Thanks for working here. I almost said living, but thanks for living here with me and stuff. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Have a good night. I just died. Oh, sorry.